And welcome to the first of 46 days in 46 seasons. I am Coach Drew. Every day during this, I will have a different person from either the online community, the live game community, the podcasting community, and a little bit more surprises along the way. Today, I'm joined by Jacob from the online community. Jacob, welcome. I'm glad
Hey,
to have you for
uh,
this first
yeah,
of 46 days going through it. You know, you joined me last time when I did 42 and 42 2 years ago, and you're on the very long list of people that I wanted to have back for this. So, Jacob, how have you been?
I'm doing magnificent. Now I'm glad to be here. For one, I get to finally answer the long question that Rudy Bosch asked. It's like I don't even know what MTV means. Well,
I,
MTV
I
stands
still
for
don't know what MTV
Jacob
means.
TV Adorno.
Well,
well,
wait,
well, now
actually,
we
you
know.
wouldn't be old enough to understand. No, do you know what MTV means?
No, I don't know either. I
You
just
actually don't
assumed
know. You actually don't know
No,
what
I
MTV
don't.
means.
I
It's
thought
music
it was
television. It's music
okay.
television.
I
Um,
assumed TV was television. I don't know. But point being that was my answer, my interpretation of the question.
okay.
But I'm doing great. Especially since considering the other season that I'm going to be doing for 46 and 46, it's as not as staggering of a difference as it can be, but regarding the 39 days, that's as far away
Yeah,
as we can get. We got this season and the
and
whiplash
and that's the
experience.
thing. And we just finished watching Borneo. The reunion is going to be playing in the background, but you can't see it, you can't hear it because we don't get flagged. But this is how this is going to work. Every day when I finish, we're immediately going to go live. We're going to have the reunion playing in the background so that by the time we finish the live, I can just start the next season. That for a month and a half. I'll be done July 10th if everything goes right.
Woo.
And just talking about this season, I always say with Borneo, those first couple of seasons, it's basically a time capsule into American history, good and bad,
Yeah,
because no matter how many wholesome moments we have in this season, there are also a lot of moments where it's like, okay, this is wholesome, but in a very
like
oh,
nostalgic.
huh?
It's like just like surely nostalgic. Like I don't think certain things would make air, whether it
Yeah.
be certain comments or
Oh boy, the comment that Sean has for Rich during the final tribal is, I mean, it's fine because I
yeah,
understand the context. I grew
yeah.
up, I was 9 or 10 when the season aired. I'm assuming you weren't born yet,
No,
right? Yeah,
I was
you
born
weren't
in.
even born yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, you weren't even born yet. And I remember watching this live, and this is the show that taught me that good doesn't always win. And that's how a lot of America felt at the time watching it. This is one of those water cooler shows, especially this season, where people felt very strongly about the Toggy Four and how they didn't feel like it was fair that they had an alliance. They hate for a variety of reasons. Kelly was once we go into that finale, it was like Kelly or Rudy is what everyone wants to win for the most part, and we don't get that, and we get the rich win, and I think that the rich win is very important to Survivor's overall story. So, what were your thoughts the first time you watched it, and has anything changed since you've gotten to this point?
I think for like the fandom that I do have, I haven't watched seasons to full completion, so watching Borneo was a very weird experience for me. So I understood how Richard winning and sort of the meta developed because of the success of the Tagi Four. Like every time I'd hear Pagong in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of the term Pagonging. So I'm
Yep.
like, oh, this is where it comes from. It comes from how the way Borneo plays out. And it's weird for two reasons. It's weird for two reasons. One, because Richard wasn't the one to form the Tagi Four. Like I guess like history makes it so that Richard was the one with the foundation of the alliance and sort of without the blueprint was basically created it. But it's rather Kelly and Sue who aligned together after Stacy got boarded off. They recruited Rich and then from there recruited Rudy. It's just so happened Richard was, of course, the beneficiary of the formation of that alliance. And it's also funny
He's the one that
because
understood the game.
yeah,
He's the one that understood the game aspect of
political.
being out there. Yes.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that because the producers wanted the good guy to win too. Like I'm looking back at we talk about Stacey Stillman. It was like, oh, they were rigging it so that they could save
The
Rudy,
rumor and innuendo,
Dirk, and
yes.
Sean flip their votes, and this, that, and the third. And like clearly, the producers would have loved to have seen Rudy go. The army. I mean, we still see it now. Well, like Jeff Probst's like put Ben on his Mount Rushmore of stuff. I think he has a lot of fondness, and it's hard for like any person with a military or Navy background of that sort. So Richard winning, just like for it to be,
and I feel like the big thing with the Rich win is he basically laid the groundwork for every other player that plays like him, because not every winner's the same, but there are a lot of winners that have that Machiavellian, attitude of like, the famous first clip of Rich is him sitting in a tree observing everyone. And it's like, that's, if you didn't know who was going to win, that's one of those moments where you can just land a look and see, okay, this guy knows what's up. And he's trying to say, hey, why are we here? Why are we doing this? And, we're off to the races from there. And I do feel like the two tribes, with the younger tribe being Pagong, they had a lot more of who I feel like they were trying to appeal more to the American public with. I think Tagi was more of hey, these are the people that we want to win, if that makes sense. We want Rudy. We want Sue. We might even want Dr. Sean, but we'll get to Dr. Sean as this progresses. We did have a question. No, they're all about the same amount of seasons. Yeah. It's anywhere between like 14
12 to 14
double episodes. Yeah. And like I said, while I'm doing this, I will always have the reunion playing in the background, because reunions are usually very uncomfortable to watch. So I might as well just have it playing. So by the time we're done, we can just move on. I guess we could go on Dr. Sean. Dr. Sean is the first goof in Survivor history. And I've been live tweeting, throughout the day of just about my observations this time around. And every time I watch this season, he just becomes, it's just so bad. He's just the worst. And everyone is making fun of him, and his confessionals is like, hey, how are you not picking up on the fact that these people are in alliance? Like when they got rid of Jenna, Colleen's doing a confessional where it's like, yeah, Sean was like, if it happens again, then there's definitely an alliance. It's like, dude, this has been a definite alliance since Dirk went home. So what were your thoughts on Dr. Sean?
I keep going back and forth of like wanting to give him the benefit of the doubt and just adopting the alphabet strategy, because it just so conveniently was that all those Pagong people were like on the upper half. So like Colleen and Jen, like Greg, they were all before. When Kelly was first, and like he didn't even have the opportunity to vote for Kelly. It's like I would want to believe that he wasn't that naive. And like,
especially as a doctor,
so yeah, I would hope
for you to not see what's right in your face of, hey, if you keep on doing this and you keep telling people that you're going to be voting alphabetically, if there is an alliance, they're going to go, okay, yeah, cool, we'll just vote them.
Yeah, like it's so weird because like watching this back, because like it's like the juxtaposition of Richard and Sue and Rudy kind of picking up on how the game should be played and not seeing it as like a immoral decision to build an alliance to better your prospects, and for Sean to still kind of play it in the way that you saw that 4 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 vote. I mean, Sean was just kind of doing what the rest of Pagong was doing. Like, so Sean may have been looked at not as negatively possibly if he was just on Pagong doing this, but because he was on Tagi when all of this action was undergo. That's why I'm partially thinking, but like Sean is also Sean.
And this is another point that I wanted to bring up too. A lot of the stuff that was introduced in the season that really doesn't happen afterwards. Yeah. And this is a big one that for some reason I started to get annoyed with as the season progressed this time around. It's like, and it's so harmless, just people ringing a gong, walking in. But after a while, I'm like, this is so stupid. When they got rid of the conch shell, I think they had a conch shell for like 2 episodes.
Yeah, it was like episode 2, episode 3. Yeah.
Just things like, and like I keep saying, it's such a time capsule because the Final 5 immunity, I think it was Final 5 immunity, where they just spoofed the Blair Witch Project, which was very famous the year before, and it comes up so corny, but sitting in 2024, it's wholesome corny. Like I enjoy it, and then obviously the funniest part of it all is Rudy doesn't remember anything, and him saying "I don't know" constantly it brought back memories of me sitting in my mom's hair salon watching this and being like, this is amazing. I want this man to win. So what were some of your thoughts of stuff that was in this season or the first few seasons that are no longer there that you would how do you feel about them? Do you think that they added to it, or do you understand why they got rid of them?
I think some of the things like I think only Borneo did. Like every time they transitioned between the camps, they have like the horn like from Ancient Voices, like playing every time they transition. I don't think they do this after that point. So
No,
that
they
was very
don't.
jarring to like, why are they doing this? Like obviously they do the transitions between camps all the time. Just that little element of it. The one thing that I don't know why I thought it was funny, it was when Jeff was going over each tribe at the beginning, introducing everybody to like a still of them standing there for like 4 or 5 seconds doing some
It's
pose
so
or some
awkward.
stuff. It's so
It's so
awkward.
awkward.
I don't.
They don't. They
I
do that for a fair few seasons. I think it's around season 9 that they stopped doing that.
Yeah, like I was heading to visit my father, and I was watching the premiere as I was heading over there. And when it went from, I think it was Stacy. No, not Stacy. What the hell am I thinking about? Gretchen, and then to Greg. Greg just doing this, like this little pose, like he's sitting off, looking into the distance. I lost it. I just couldn't control it. I was like, I don't know why this is so funny, but this just seems so weird. Like this is so. I like the. I mean, I don't know if it's better than what we get now, where like it's everyone seems to have like some
Because there's
sympathetic.
so much access to pregame press, we don't really need y'all to tell us, this is who this person is. By the time they show up on the beach when we are watching now, we already know everything about these people's lives because the really weird folks like me go creeping on their social media. And once the cast gets announced, it's like, okay, yep, that's all I need to know. I'm rooting for these people. And I think that it's one of those wholesome things. I also did want to point out, yes, speaking of Rich and the taxes thing, I always think of the Lydia tweet that she put out a couple years ago where Rich tweeted something and Lydia was like, teach me about tax fraud, King.
Love Lydia.
Yes, one of my favorites of the new era, even though she didn't make it very far. And that's the thing. Speaking of lingering, when Jenna doesn't get her video, they spend an uncomfortable amount of time focusing on that. And I thought it was just me at first, and then I rewound it, and it's about a good 20 seconds of them just staring at Jenna. Oh yeah, your family forgot about you. And then the camera just zooms in. It's like, okay, well, what do you do? And then it goes immediately to Greg flirting with his sister, basically. And and that's, we have all these fun characters in this season, and I'm glad that a lot of them didn't come back. And the reason I'll say that is I feel like the people, a lot of times when we have people come back, our memories of them kind of go out the window because of how poorly they do, the next time, or even how better they do. Wigglesworth is a prime example where she is a main character here. I would say top 4 main characters of the season, even besides the fact she made it to the end of the game. And then by the time we get her in second chances, she's a non-entity. And I feel like people downplay her as a character overall in Survivor history because of her second chances, forgetting everything that she did in the first season, where she's winning all these challenges. And she is perceived as wishy-washy, but like she was still 1 vote away from winning the game. Yeah. So do you feel like the people that we have gotten back from the season, do you think that was the right amount, or are there people that you feel like, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing them again?
I think that there was like a point in time where like I was still yearning for like a Greg return, like a Colleen return. I think those are like the 2 big ones that I've heard a lot of people in the community say, like bring them back for like another second chances type thing, like to bring call back. That's as far back as you can go. Like I just remember the reaction to Ethan coming back for Winners at War, and like Amber coming back, like this shock, like people from who played all the way back then being so willing to play in the modern day game. And I think you gave me the best example I think that there is. Of course, there's Rudy being brought up very early in All Stars. There's the whole Sue and Richard situation in All Stars as well. The only person who I think even, and then obviously Jenna is Jenna, but like the only person who I think really didn't tamper with their reputation is Jervis. When he came back with Blood versus Wild. Like, I remember, like, watching the premiere, and I'm like, Jervis just feels like the same guy. Like, yeah, he's a little bit older, got a couple more years on him, but, like, I still felt just tattoo. I love that, because I think this is common knowledge, but, the fake spoiler that
Oh, that
Jervis
Jervis was going
won.
to win.
It was so funny because like now I'm like now I have to watch this season and like can I see a Jervis win? Like it's weird as someone like and I joked as because I joined this while Andrew was finishing the reading of the votes and I said it would Edgic victory woo. I was joking that my preseason winner won, but I'm a student of Edgic and so this was like a season where it was just like they're just showing what they had. Like they weren't trying to create a story to try to appeal to us like a Richard win to help us digest. It was more so
I
just like
think the
a
story is
yeah,
the Tagi Four. I think
yeah,
that's the story, and I think those are the main characters of the season. The fact that we watch them from beginning to end, and we know everything about this group. We really don't see the dynamics of those, like these mini alliances that they say Kelly and Sue were doing. But we see everything with them for the four of them from beginning to end, because even when they were thinking about breaking apart, they don't. They do, but they can't get rid of Kelly. So optics wise, the four of them made it to the end of the game, so it didn't matter. Yes, I do agree that these characters, Rich especially, laid the groundwork for everything else that happened afterwards. There's a lot of archetypes that start in this season that we get for a long time, and there's only I won't say the same archetypes exist now, but we still get the older the older woman
yeah,
archetype, or we'll get the young athletic woman archetype, and
yeah.
then in the first 8 or ish seasons, you could tell they were trying to get another Sue. They're trying to get another Rich. They're trying to get all these other people, and
Mhm.
I do feel like, for better or worse, it's because of this season. What were some of your highlights going? So I guess I forgot to ask you this. When was the first time you actually watched this season? Because, like we've established, you weren't alive when the season first aired, and I was, like I said, I was 9 or 10. Um, when did you watch this first season? Did you know what the outcome was going to be, and what were your thoughts then?
The watching the season to completion was recently, like when you recruited me to be the one to be on Borneo. I knew for a long time. I've watched clips. I've watched retrospectives of Borneo. I've watched episodes like the must-haves. You've watched the finale. You watched the premiere. You've watched a couple other episodes like the Gretchen vote off. I had to. Funny when you mentioned the Jenna not getting a video from her family because that episode I was waiting for the when's the Greg sister thing gonna happen? Like, when's the incest gonna happen? Which I did not
Goodness.
afraid of that. But then that happens. Like, wait, so it's just like it's right before this. Like no one talks about this. I feel like that should be
Yeah,
whatever. So I've watched episodes, but not the whole season to completion. But until recently. But I know you were going to ask me about highlights. Of course, the Snakes and Rats speech. I remember I moved into my college dorm with one of my dearest friends, who's also in the online gaming community, and the letter he left for me because he already moved in before me was like was a copy and paste of the Snakes and Rats speech, but inserting my name instead of Kelly, which I obviously very much was familiar with that. I don't know why Rudy just as a narrator, as someone in the I just always
yeah,
just looked forward to hearing from Rudy's
just
perspective, and
yeah.
a lot of
It's
people,
so
yeah,
wholesome. Even if he is like in 24 Hours, like he's saying stuff, whatever.
yeah,
In 2000, everything that he was saying, whether you agreed with it or not, was hilarious, because it's just like, yeah, I understand. I don't understand, but I understand how a crabby old man, a World War II vet and everything, being out
yeah,
there with all these young people, and his best friend is a gay man out there. I can see why he would be saying all these things. I get it. I understand, and I feel like that's why him and Colleen were America's sweethearts, which is so funny because they're two totally different people. And they became America's sweethearts back then. You can continue. Also,
yeah,
I do want to talk about this comment, so
yeah.
because
I want
I
to talk
do
about
have
that too.
positive thoughts on that.
Yeah. So and I think as much credit as we give to Richard for the formation, the foundation of the strategy, the confessional I keep coming back to isn't anything that Richard said. It's what Rudy said in the premiere. It was like, there's more of them than there are me, so I need to fit into them. Not that they need to fit into me, because like we would see BB kind of do the opposite on the other tribe, and obviously pay the price for it. He's the first voted off of his tribe. Well, second, I guess. First was Jeff Probst, but that
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
make the episode.
Ruben and innuendo.
But like Rudy was like, just like I could be this curmudgeon. I could be the old man, and I could be stuck in my ways. But no, I can't be. I have to adapt. I need to adjust to the type of environment that these people are creating and fostering, and I need to build a relationship, or at least an image, that makes myself palatable to these young folk, because there's way more of them than they are me. So I need to look more appealing than people that are like them, obviously in less words than that, but it's such a small thing that, like,
Yeah.
that's so instrumental in Survivor. So like when I keep looking back at this season, how Richard did all which he did, which I give him a lot of credit for. You know, he was the first one, I guess, to speak, and I think second one of the game, he already knew what he was signing up for, whereas most of these other people did not. It was just some experiment. It was this wildlife adventure where, like, Richard noticed it as a game. But I think Rudy noticed it was a game at like hour one. Like I think Rudy didn't take that much longer to catch up that this is a game.
They're currently talking about the Colleen Greg thing in the background, which Survivor really wanted that. Hold on.
They wanted
Survivor
Jenna and Sean too more
to happen. And it's like, I don't think, and they waited, even the way they edited the preview for the next episode where they talked about, they keep going off, and it's like, it looks like they are actually, having sex and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, we weren't. And they really want us to. That's why we were on the Hot People tribe. But with this, if we break down the game, social, strategic, physical, I do feel like Kelly beats Rich 2-1 in that situation, because I do think she had the better physical play, obviously, and the better social play. The Final Four challenge, where she wins because she just knows more about people, because she actually sits and listens to them, and that's going to be a big thing that happens in these first few seasons of person, putting in the time to learn about folks. Now, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, and in the situation Kelly lost, but I feel like she got the votes that she did because of the way she presented herself to everyone, because people, felt like she was their friend. I think where she kind of shot herself in the foot, I mean, it's not really a secret, is because she was looked at as wishy-washy so much. Like, if you really plan on jumping ship, actually jump ship. Don't throw votes, because now you are actually sitting in the middle, because you're not committing to either one. And I think that that's what ultimately screws her, is because, you can be social as you want, but like, pick a side. And I think if she had picked a side, either she stays with Tagi or goes with Pagong, I think people would have respected it a lot more, because everyone knew what Rich was doing. And that's what Sean says in his, that's what Sue says in hers. And, Snakes and Rats, I understand it's the most iconic thing that's ever happened on this show. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, I get it, but like, it's not. It comes off as, like Jervis said, like it's her being a sore loser. And when Kelly loses and Sid goes to go hug her, and Kelly's just like, no, like, why would I hug you right here? It's so embarrassing. And then Jeff keeps trying to bring it up during the reunion of like, have you guys made up? It's like, leave these people alone. All right, let them grieve. Go ahead.
It's so funny because like we come back from, because I told Adrian this, like, to go from the 46 finale to this, the whiplash I experienced was extreme. Like it was just so weird to see how that show is edited. The 90-minute episodes, the character, different format changes, the shorter days, all these things. And I think the biggest, the thing I forgot was that reunions were always, for the most part, awkward or like kind of superfluous watching. I just feel bad for the people like in New Era. Yeah, like, I mean, that's awkward. And then New Era, it's like, just let Charlie grieve. Like, Charlie looked miserable over there. Like, he was just, let Charlie leave him, give him a night at least. Like, it won't make it that much better, but at least let him like sleep on it, like, so he can like compose himself. Like, hey, you lost, and let's immediately film this show and talk about why you lost.
Eat some pizza and let me ask you questions about why you just lost. Even though your body is in shock, your mind is in shock, and you just lost. Like, what? Why? Yeah. I don't understand. Even this, where they actually did read the votes out there, they still waited until they got home to ask them all these questions. Yeah. And I think they filmed it spring of 2000. That aired summer of 2000. So they would have had a few months to get over it. And at the end of the day, and it's just one of the craziest things, and I didn't realize it, is because it's not in HD. It's not in HD. They don't go to HD until, I believe, Gabon. So
That sounds right.
yeah, and I'm excited for this week, except for what, day 5,
All
except
Stars.
for Thailand. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
not looking.
that's it. That's it.
I'm
That's
not
it.
looking forward to
All Stars is the
Thailand.
second week.
Yeah, All Stars is the second week. I think it's a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this, and I'm going to be rating seasons as we go, or as I go. I gave this one a 4.25 out of 5. I think it's really good. I know that a lot of people rate it low now because it's so boring. This was so easy to watch. Like, I started at midnight last night, and I got to final 6 by like 2 o'clock. So I took a nap because it was like, okay, I can finish this at any point today. So I'm ahead of the pace right now because it was so easy to get through. I think that because you have this compelling narrative of the Talking War, and the challenges are not, the challenges are very basic. They're very basic, to the point where they have a reward challenge, the one where Jervis is going to get the phone call, and it's just who can walk over this plank the fastest. That's all it was, and I was like, okay, cool. Let's get to the other stuff. I know someone in here asked yesterday, "Do I skip the challenges?" No, I don't skip the challenges, but sometimes challenges are slogs. I don't want elaborate ones right now. As this progresses, cool, I'll be all right with the elaborate challenges. But right now, I just want basic in and out, a couple of endurance challenges, and then let's get to the beach. Which strategizing time in this is basically non-existent as far as the edit is concerned. It's the challenge ends, and all of a sudden, it's just them walking to tribal. And there is no, what's going to happen? It's like, no, we're just going to go there, and then we're just going to find out together. So what did you think of that?
No, because actually you mentioned 2 things I wanted to bring up. Well, the first thing was the challenges. Jeff isn't narrating, and I don't know if I don't know exactly when he starts narrating. It's like later on, like I think not this first week he's not doing this, and I think going into like the second week, like a season within that 8 to 12 frame, that's when he starts doing like his own thing. Like that's how you do it on Survivor. You gotta dig deep, like all those Jeffisms. So it was weird hearing that. And then I think I think just to piggyback off what you said, just the season in general. I mean, it was a delight to watch. Aside from like the challenges, obviously them being slogs, I felt like it was, like you said, very easy to watch. I started later because I was doing a mini. I think around the time where you started, I started dozed off, and then felt like I had to like kind of speed run towards the past ones, like make sure I'm not missing anything important from those early episodes. I was able to finish rather recently, so.
While you get that, I think that the alphabet strategy was brought in season 47. That person would get sniped immediately. Like they might get past one vote, but soon as someone realizes, or even worse, if someone announces, "Hey, I'm doing the alphabet strategy," people are just going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And if they don't announce it, people are going to figure out who's doing it, and they're going to get rid of them because the unknown. And that is the biggest unknown, is like, okay, we don't even know where this person's going. Oh, we do know where this person's going to vote, and they're not voting the way that we want to. They got to go. So yeah, I think first or second boot for anyone that tries the alphabet strategy now. There's no way that anyone makes it past that.
Yeah, like it's so that alphabet strategy. Woohoo. But the other thing was the lack of strategy talk. It is very funny. It's funny, like we obviously get like a confessional about that, but like when we're talking about like strategy in between challenges and tribal council, we don't get like conversations of them on the beach, like them talking and weighing out the votes like we do in like seasons now. Like we get like a whole like 2 commercial breaks to just to run through all of that, and then we go to tribal council and they do their thing over there. But it being so different here and so abruptly, like we go to challenges, all right, bam, we're going to tribal shortly afterwards. It was weird for me because I don't remember that. I remember obviously all like these iconic moments. You know, the Greg sister thing, the snakes and rats speech, the Rudy. Me and Richard are gonna be very good friends. Not in a homosexual way, of course.
Yeah,
Because
no,
everything might be
that way, that's
confessional.
for sure. It's like, all
That's
right.
for sure.
But
That was
it's,
probably my funniest. I just think it's funny. It's like
comes
it's
off as so
charming and
sweet.
like a. It's so old school. It's I don't know. It was
Yeah,
funny for
it
me. But like,
comes off as
yeah,
sweet because I have family members that talked like that back in the day. It's like, yep, that it's, and I felt all of these people had their pockets of fans that were rooting for them, especially Colleen and Rudy. I feel like there was, I feel like, I mean, once again, this was years ago. I was 9 or 10. But I just remember everyone latching on to Rudy, especially. Like everyone was rooting for Rudy to win. And I think even though he's not the stereotypical underdog, I feel like he was the underdog of that Tagi 4. Because yes, even though all these people want Kelly to go, Kelly's never going to go because she's never going to lose a challenge. Sue is Sue, and Rich. Everyone hates his guts, so like you want Rudy to win. And I do think of that final 4, Rudy beats all 3 of them. I don't think there is
I
a
agree.
situation where Rudy
1000%.
doesn't win against all 3 of them. I think Kelly only beats Sue. I don't see Kelly beating Rudy, and obviously she didn't beat Rich, but I only see her beating Sue.
I agree. I think it's such an interesting thing to like think about because Kelly had no business switching her vote at 4. Like I remember going back to seeing like all the votes and trying to like see the chart, and Rudy being the only one to vote correctly every single tribal council he had attended to. If we're counting Sue voting Richard as an incorrect vote, so and I noticed that I forgot going into the finale that that's how Sue goes. They tie it, and I don't know what the tiebreaker would have been.
At
I
that
remember
point, I
it
don't
being
know.
because like what because what
Because
they do the
eventually
same
it
thing.
becomes like a quiz on like a wildlife quiz or something like that. That's what they do in Australia and Africa. I think they might have done it in more cases too. But
And then
yeah,
Marquesas, it was a
or
rock
Marquez
draw
is just the rock. Yeah,
because of Pascal. Yeah, so that's when my mind came to. It's like, was it a rock draw? I forgot, and then I remembered. It's like, how does this play out? And then just Kelly just changes her vote anyways. Which I mean, I guess
yeah, and it's not like she betrayed Sue that in that situation. Like I guess I am kind of confused why she just did. There was nothing bad that could happen to her in that situation because she's immune. So I don't understand why, but like Sue's acting like Kelly like went in there and just immediately voted her out, didn't give her a chance or anything. And that's a lot of the last couple of episodes of the season is Sue being overly pissed off at Kelly over really nothing. Like Kelly's not voting against you. She's just not voting with the crew anymore. I don't understand why. And you can see it go off in her head maybe 2 or 3 episodes before the finale where it's like Sue's lost it. Sue, like, and just a lot of the confessional she was giving, it's like, yeah, if she doesn't make it to the end, which we all know what's going to happen, but if she doesn't make it to the end, there's going to be hell to pay. And there was. Yes, I agree with this. It was so nice watching wholesome young Jeff. I think he's only like 39 here, but yeah, he's not the main character. It's just, it's Jeff's this there is, a part of the set. He's not, yeah, I mean, really, he's not there to like show up anyone. I will say there's one Jeffism in this season that I didn't realize. I don't know how I never realized it, that started this season. It's the fact that he's basically telling on people at Tribal. It's like, oh man, like alliances and this whole alphabet thing. And it's like, what if people didn't know that? And you're just kind of, and I think the one Tribal where he asked Rudy or Rich straight up, like, are there alliances? And Rich is like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff. And then he does confessional. It's like, yeah, Probst tried to, to tell him
the alliance. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I do know another thing that Jeff mentioned. Well, I mean, wholesome Jeff. It was like congratulating everybody for making it as far as they did when it was like day 3. Like Jeff wouldn't be congratulating you for any of it. So it was so weird. Like no sassy Jeff. Like I think
I'm all right with no sassy Jeff right now.
The king of sass compilations that Eager Turtle be posting on YouTube and stuff like that. Nothing from Borneo. You don't get that from Borneo, and I miss that because I love sassy, spicy Jeff. But hearing it from this season, it was just there were growing pains. Like clearly that just the monotone way that he speaks. He speaks with so much gravitas and so much splendor.
And the way he
now.
reads
Like
the
there's
boat is just so over the top, even though it's very basic what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it almost, once again, it almost comes off as like this wholesome corny. And I think the only reason that I keep saying wholesome is because I smiled the entire time I watched this, because it's like, this is just really nice to be back doing this again. But like the way he turns and reads the boats and like he stares with this like deadpan, like not trying to emote or anything. It's like, all right, Jeff, like it's all right. I think that Jeff, I don't know if it was before Survivor or like while the first few seasons were on, but he had a talk show. He had a talk show that didn't last long, but he had a talk show. And I don't, that's what I'm trying to remember if it was before or after. And then also that, yes, as well. Jeff was the legend of Jeff Probst, I think, started to build around Marquesas. I think right now, these first few seasons, Jeff was just the host of Survivor. And I think by the time Survivor really took off, no. I think when Jeff got famous is when he got on that helicopter at the finale of Outback, which we will be talking about tomorrow. Overall, final thoughts, because the reunion is wrapping up, and I'm gonna make myself a drink and start watching Australian Outback so I can stay on this pace. Final thoughts on the season.
Well, I know you gave it a 4.2 out of 5. I was thinking out of 10. So I was about to say 4.25 out of 10. I'm sorry. But I was going to do out of 10. But my metric measures, because I was about to say 8 out of 10.
No,
it was
4 out of 5.
So it would have to be 8 point.
No, even 4 point. Okay, what is your out of 5?
What being 4 out of 5? 4 out of 5. I
Okay.
enjoyed this season. I'm glad I finally got to watch this iconic season. It's a cornerstone in Survivor history. We wouldn't have seasons 2 through 46 had it not been for the success and or if we did somehow make it all the way to season 47, Survivor 50 and whatnot, this wouldn't be the same game. I'd be honestly shocked if it survived this long, if it was about avoiding alliances and not playing. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
I'm really thankful for this.
Say, I saw the reply to this, but I don't think Sue ever comes back. I don't think Sue ever comes back.
Oh, no, 1,000%.
Absolutely not. But I feel like a Sue and Sandra tribe, I don't know. And we'll do one final question here. Who from here should be back on 50? Like I said yesterday on the finale pod, I don't think they're going to do anyone pre-33, but if they were, and let's just take into account ages at this point, I know Rich is going to be on the second season of House of Villains, which I'm actually really excited to see.
Yeah.
If they could pull Greg, like, cool. If they could pull someone like, Jervis, I like. There's maybe Jervis. Yeah, they get Greg or Jervis back. I know Jervis has already come back once. I really don't want to, like, Jenna would be fine. Like, there's a lot of people that would just be fine, but like, I feel like if they got Greg back, someone that people have actually been clamoring for since season 8, if they were to actually go out and find him and he comes back, I feel like that would help. I feel like even if they brought back Jervis, even though he's already been back once, I think people would be excited for that. Outside of them, I don't think anyone's clamoring for Kelly again. As I say that, we get it. This Kelly. I don't think that, just because of the edit,
second chances.
I don't think that anyone's really clamoring for Sue at this point. Colleen, maybe. I know she went like AWOL after she did the animal. But I know she kind of went AWOL. I think people would be, I guess, excited but I think because this season was so not strategy heavy, and it was just basically 14 people plus Rich and Greg, who I guess kind of understood the strategy of it. I don't know if anyone's going to be clamoring for that to happen as the reunion ends. But that's it. So like I said, for the next 46 days, I will be doing this. I'll be going live right after I'm done the season. I will be having the reunion playing in the background, and I will have multiple guests coming on per season. I think, like I said, we've got online players, we've got live game players, we've got people from the online community, and like I said, a few surprises here and there. And so I'm excited to take this journey again. I did this 2 years ago. I lost like 10 pounds, and we'll go into that as this progresses. But I'm excited to do this again. I'm excited to have a new home here at the Nullified Take. And I'm excited to have everyone here on that journey. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Jacob, thank you for coming on. We'll have Jacob back when? What season are you coming back for?
Winners at War.
Winners at War. Okay, so we've got about 39 days until we see
we have a whole Survivor season away from me having.
We've got 39 days until I get Jacob back. Dang, that'll be in July. Yeah. We'll be in July by the time we get there. Same time tomorrow, roughly. Yes. If my goal is to knock out 3 or 4 episodes of Outback tonight, so that tomorrow I can actually have a life and then finish the rest of the season. But yeah, it'll usually be around this time frame every night. There might be occasional nights where I might have to go on a little later. That's just because life gets in the way. But I've done this once, and I'm going to do it again. So thank you all, and we will see you all on the other side.
Have a phenomenal night, everybody.